Hello, and welcome back to Dénht'ā. Hi, how are you? My name's Ella Lamoureux, and we're back with episode 4 of my podcast, Dénht'ā. Hi, how are you? And for people that don't know, Dénht'ā in my Kaska language means hello, how are you? I also just love saying that as many times as I can at the beginning of an episode because why not? Continuity. Today, I'm super excited for a very special guest. It's someone that I have gotten to know pretty well in the last year, and I feel like we became very, very good friends at the time, as well as professional colleagues, and just an overall beautiful person. Give it up for the amazing, talented Jaylene Tyme. Jaylene, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, well, hello. My name is Jaylene. Thank you so much, Ella. I always say this because I think it's really important to be consistent with the visibility that I offer on the stages and the spaces that I'm in. I am an Indigenous Two Spirit transgender human being from Treaty 4, Zagame and Anishinaabe on my paternal side, and Kawakatus Nation and Métis Nation Saskatchewan on my maternal side. Thrilled to be here. I reside on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nation, otherwise known as Vancouver.
Yay! So she is here with us this weekend, so I'm very grateful that we get to have a conversation. But I want to talk about your activism and just in your life in general. Like I want everyone to get to know you and know the amazing person you are. But you are a huge figurehead in Vancouver, not just for your fantastic drag, but you as a person yourself and the activism you do. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, I think what's really important to recognize is the fact that a journey of self-discovery is challenging for everyone. So I think that one of the things that I realized that in my journey walking this earth, it's really important to be able to take ownership of my space, but also to contribute to it as well. So I think that's something that I've learned along the way, and it hasn't always been easy, but I think it has led me to the space to where I show up every day and do the best that I can do. And I think, you know, as the days go by, as the years go by, you really carve out an identity within wherever you're at.
Amazing. We talked a bit about this yesterday about wanting to be, or sorry, not wanting to be, but becoming a model, or a model, like a figurehead, a role model. Yeah, a supermodel. But like a role model for yourself. Was it something that just naturally fell into your lap, or did you, like at one point, being like, I went through what I went through, and I want to be someone that other people can look up to?
Well, I think to be really transparent, you know, we're having this discussion here, and as a fellow Indigenous people, I actually really value that, because for me, you know, to be really honest with you, and that's something that I find I'm very transparent. Whenever I have discussions with people, I think it's just important to be able to share what my truth looks like. And I think part of that has been, I didn't actually think that I would be here at the age that I'm at, like being 52, and just realizing that with the life expectancy of trans women of color worldwide being just over the age of 30, I actually, for myself, didn't visualize me being like a senior, if you will. So I just look at it right now, just being really important to realize that I'm here, that that I show up in a good way, but also in the most authentic and brave way that I can. And it just means that I've chosen not to hide who I am, but I also realize that I have the opportunity to choose who I surround myself with for the majority of my life. And it is in spaces where people are creating and protecting spaces for people to feel welcome, regardless of their identity, their sexuality, their cultural identity, just as long as we let people know that there's a space for them to be. That's sort of what I've always really valued, that people did that for me. And I just feel that now it's like, okay, well, I get to do that for other people too. That's sort of where I'm at right now. Nothing is really like, I'm going to go out there and do this. I just, you know, I'm really grateful. My journey hasn't been easy as an Indigenous person, as a 60s scoop adoptee, and, you know, as a trans person, and as a queer person, you know, all these things that are, you know, you come into the world and like everything you're taught really quickly is that this world isn't made for someone like you. So know your place.
Mm-hmm.
Work really hard, but don't expect too much.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of where I'm sort of now, over the years, have shifted the narrative of what that looks like for me as a person. And I'm just at a place right now to where I realize that by me standing in my truth and my lived experience and sharing that with people, that if you stay long enough, if you stay alive long enough, then people say, oh yeah, you're like a legend or whatever kind of thing, right? And for me, I'm like, yeah, it's just been time.
Yeah.
And I didn't go out to really be like an ambassador or anything like that. But it's just where I think that I just know I remember not really having anyone to really connect or relate with.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I can be that for somebody, it does feel good and it feels right.
Yeah, that's good, because visibility and representation matters. Just on my side of the story as well, it's like I've never planned on becoming any figurehead, but then it just happens. And then I remember pushing it away because I didn't want to do that, because I know that I have a lot of cracks and a lot of things to work on within my own self. And then I always thought that you had to be this person that had everything together before you were able to teach someone else. But then I quickly learned, listening to you, listening to other stories of other Indigenous peoples, that you just have to share your lived experiences for someone else to realize, and then they can see where you've come and what you've done, and then you can grow together and they can take inspiration from you. And then hopefully you as a community with yourself and the other person can build something together if your energies match. But I just also feel I had the same experience where I was like, I now want to just be that for someone else, because I never had that when I was younger either. I knew who you were for a long time, and I remember thinking that you were just this very statuesque Indigenous baddie that had everything put together. And you do. You have like a really good self, not control. Like you have a really good knowledge of yourself and then what you bring forward, because it's very authentic. And you did say that you always just go into every situation authentic yourself.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because then the more I get to know you, I'm always learning from you. I'm always like gathering knowledge from you. I listen to the way you speak, because you have an elegant way of just saying things. And I think that's what makes people gravitate to you, because like you're unapologetically yourself. You've been through enough. You're allowed to be that.
Yeah, I feel like it has been, like I said, it hasn't been easy, and I've been treated really poorly in a lot of, and I allowed myself to be. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Just keep quiet and just don't get in the way.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing was really hard for me, for my confidence for a long time, because I would just you didn't have a lot of really great expectations on me. No, I didn't really have any champions around me saying, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Get out there and just take over the world. You're special. You're amazing. None of that. It was literally oh, okay, well, just do your best.
Yeah. To try to get by, right? To try to navigate this the amazing world we're in. But it goes to what you just said, is that no one was there creating space for you, but now when you go into these spaces that you have a little bit more control over, you're creating space for other people, right?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, is that I do realize that I found freedom within, I feel like, the drag community, and I know, just a disclaimer here, we are in full out drag because we're doing the Dolly show here,
Tonight.
And so I don't normally wear like this.
This isn't our everyday look.
These lips are done.
She's ready for up. She's war painted up, ready to Cape battle.
So when I first went into a queer space and I saw the drag community there, I realized, okay, well, maybe there's a space for me, because I was dressing up in the bathroom on the farm where I grew up, and just by myself, and washing it all off, and making sure that nobody found out that that's what I was doing. And then when I went to a bar and I watched the drag performers share art, it was smoke and beads and feathers. It was really beautiful, but also to feel the level of community, because at that time, through the HIV and AIDS epidemic in the early 90s, it was something that was really important for the community to show up for the people that were basically their families turned away from them, and healthcare was really bad. So it was just really impactful for me to witness that, and just to see, okay, so these people really care. And so I remember, I still to this day, I realize how important it is to be able to raise funds and awareness for our vulnerable community, but also just to know that our presence is important. The fact that when we show up in our authentic form and entertain people, but also make people think, make people feel, that is a contribution. And as an Indigenous person now, I'm able to realize that is in alignment with our medicine wheel. When you think about it, it's choosing to be able to provide medicine in our own personal way, versus just knowing, okay, yeah, so I am part of this. I can bring a space to where what I do today is create a stage for other performers to feel safe to express themselves. And I heard a teaching about, I don't say that I create safe spaces, because that's not always a guarantee. But what my intent is to do is to create a brave space to where people can feel like they can be themselves and that they're going to be supported. And that sort of as time goes along, and as I learn how to really truly identify, even as years go by, more authentically with myself in my healing journey, then I just find that's just going to really encourage others to do the same.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really resonate about that with safe space, talking about you don't create a safe space because it's not guaranteed, but creating a brave space is so powerful, because I sometimes think about how we tell places this place is safe, but we can't 100% guarantee that. You can come into the space and someone can still say something that makes you feel uncertain about yourself. And I like that. I'm going to take that. It's great. It's great. A lot of brave spaces. And
well, that's the thing too, though. It's like when you learn something, when somebody shares it, because that's not my comment. That's actually from reaching out to I listen to teachings on Audible.
Yeah.
There's so many really great Indigenous wisdoms of healing, and I find that's where I want to go. I want to realize, as a 60s scoop adoptee, as a trans person, and as a sober from alcohol and drugs addict and alcoholic, that my healing journey has been paramount towards me being here, but also to realizing the fact that knowledge is power. And so the more I learn about how I didn't grow up with my culture, so the fact that now I'm able to have the information of my history and have my my identity as an Indigenous person, being able to be having my status card and relationship with my father's reservation and to be affiliated with that today, and also to know the history of my mother, and just to really explore what my cultural imprint really looks like, and just to realize today that I'm learning more about how to show up in a good way.
You said that you never grew up with your culture, and then so how was the journey of reconnecting with culture been like for you?
That's a great question, because it has been remarkable and challenging, because when I think about growing up, I was raised by settlers who were really well-intended, lovely people who raised me and kept me safe. And there are some challenges there, because I recently got some adoption information from my file saying that I was in 5 homes before I was 4.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot there, because I always wondered why I didn't really connect with my family to that bonding kind of moment of feeling like this is my family kind of thing. So I always felt like there was something not connect. I wasn't really connected with anybody.
Like you're an outsider almost inside your home?
My whole life.
Yeah.
And it was like when I look back at it now, and I look back at what they provided me, which was that probably saved my life.
Yeah.
In fact, I know it saved my life. So I think about that too, but I also do realize that the lack of culture, because I was raised in a settler family with no connection to culture at all. And so when I was able to explore on my own and be able to find a community, and then over the years get to know other Indigenous people, and I had the basis for my adoption. They said I was Métis, and they had like a really brief sort of like biography that I was provided, but it didn't give me any, like, I didn't know where I was from. It said Métis, so which wasn't accurate. I mean, my grandfather's from Métis Nation, but both of my parents are
First Nation.
First Nation. Yeah, so I didn't know that until I was like just before I was 50.
Yeah.
So I just like got it now. Yeah. So the whole journey to be able to explore and have answers, I'm so grateful for, because I feel like I've been guided by spirit for a long time, even when I was little. Like I remember being in spaces to where I'd be on my own. I'd go for walks on the farm and just feel really connected to nature.
Yeah.
And also sitting in my room, creating a space through my art and all these things that was something that was mine. And I always remember feeling like there's something here and there's something waiting for me when I leave here. I always felt, okay, well, just kind of like, in a sense, do your time here and just know that there's another world waiting for you. Something instinctively inside of me knew that there was something waiting.
Yeah. And then you just had to be open to it, kind of thing, right?
Well, I couldn't actually understand a lot of it because I was just I had to really protect myself, because I knew when I was as a young age, that I wasn't like the same as the other little boys. And I knew, I played with dolls in private. Everything was in private. Yeah. Everything was secret. So I actually learned to be
a lot of shame back in the day for anyone that's
everything.
Stepping outside of their society's gender roles.
Well, there's this thing to this day that I walk through, is the fact that I can overthink things in a sense, because I'm really kind of rule driven, because in a sense for me, when I was taught that if you don't like follow the rules, and I think when I learned that I was in so many homes before I was 4, that I probably like absorbed the fact that if you're not good and if you don't follow the rules, someone's going to leave you. And you're going to, I feel this wave of emotion right now, just because I think about that for that little child, right? And I'm thinking, that impacts me to this day sometimes too, because I feel like if I don't do everything exactly perfect in certain things, that somebody's not going to like me, kind of thing. And in my mind, I was like, that was when I was younger, really challenging, because I didn't know where I fit in. Yeah. So I feel actually the more I explore sort of like the real vulnerability of what that child went through, for myself, I'm actually able to be more kind with myself and be able to go to like a journey of healing, because I can kind of understand sort of what happened. Yeah. So I take it with, like I said, that knowledge is power. So when I learn these things about myself as a young person, I'm able just to realize, okay, well, let's just kind of put that in perspective and really connect with elders and connect with healing, and also with my culture in ways of being able to have ceremony every step of the way now, because I'm not alone. Yeah. And there's so many people that have the experience of being like, for myself as a 60 scoop survivor or residential schools, and the intergenerational trauma that comes along with us as we enter this world, as our feet hit the earth here, we kind of came along with some stuff too, right? Yeah. So now as an Indigenous person who is, reaching, I'm in my 50s now, I'm able to just take a look at things and be really grateful for the fact that today I have safety. Yeah. Today I have a roof over my head, food in my stomach, and I'm able to really navigate through, some of the ways that I had previously viewed myself and how I showed up in the world. And now I think this is pretty exciting now, is the fact that in the things that I do, and I witness how our world is opening up for other people, young people coming after us, is that, I'm able to share my story and just to let people know that, our power is in our unity. And because when we come together, we don't have to hold those stories, and also those feelings of not feeling like you're enough, we can come together and realize that we are more than enough. In fact, we are gifted. There's so many things that are really powerful and beautiful about working through adversity. That is an energy that, I believe our ancestors are really in tune with and want us to really take ownership of, and not viewing our experiences as a deficit, but as a strength. And that's where I want to go now, because for so long I used to feel so less than, and now I just feel like it's like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm really grateful. I just want to make sure that when I wake up every day, that I show up to be myself in the most fabulous way I can, and really enjoy this existence, because I didn't even realize it before, but I didn't really ever fully feel bliss.
Yeah. But now you're starting to come into your own and kind of thing, and just feeling that bliss. Nice. I feel like coming into to any situation being fully authentic is going to gravitate people towards you, so they can partake in that joy as well. They can take that little bit of energy from you, and then they'd be like, I can be happy and I can enjoy the situation I'm in. There's still some healing that we have to do, but we can still enjoy the time that I have. And like every time that I'm with you, there's so much Indigenous joy. And I know we've had many conversations about other things, so I know that you and I both go through things, but in essence, when I'm with you, there's Indigenous joy always. Even if we're talking about things that happened in the past, there's always that moment of just like camaraderie where we understand each other, or there's just like a sense of calmness. And I love that. Like, I can joke around with you and know that it's fine, because you just hit it back to me 10 times harder, because
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's why I focus on not everything being so heavy for us. And I know for myself, a lot of it has been heavy. And I kind of was in that. And that's why I wasn't really enjoying things, because I was like, oh, this just really is hard. I don't think anybody really understands sort of what it's like to be me. And that I was just like, kind of like that. But for me, I'm like, I have to shift it and just realize a lot of that is because I wasn't really taught that confidence. In, the fact of like, being lighthearted. I've always had to protect myself. So I've always had like walls up. And so now when I find people, specifically when I meet with other Indigenous people and I get to work with elders, and I work with in ceremony, and I'm able to experience that, and then meet other Two Spirit people in a resurgence, and working with our Two Spirit program with CBRC, and just seeing, the fact that when we're able to come together, it's magical.
Ceremony as well. I want to touch a bit on your ceremony, because you mentioned a couple times. I see you beautifully interwove ceremony into your life with everything that you do. Was it difficult, or did you feel any bit of uncomfort when you first started talking or bringing ceremony into like your everyday life that's outside of the home?
Well, this is the thing. I love that question, because I didn't have any ceremony when it's growing up. There wasn't anything like that. And for me, as a prairie native, and I actually love that. I'm Cree and Soto and Métis, and it's just such a beautiful prairie culture. It's so amazing. It's so beautiful. And when I actually explore and study the teachings of what our plant medicine is, and what it means to be in ceremony, and the respect and the honor of our ancestors, and calling in our ancestors, and recognizing our sacred grandmothers and grandfathers. It's something. It was a memory. It was there. That's what I think is like, it's so important when I share, is that it's been there all along. It's like, I am, like, the blood that runs through me is of my ancestors. So
they're
now,
all there with you.
And they're saying hi. It sounds like silly, but I just feel like the more I do ceremony, the more that I know that they're there. And I know that when I show up and I start my day with ceremony, I start everything with ceremony. When I have discussions, I always think, I thank the Creator for giving me the voice to be able to share in a way today that is led by heart and spirit, and not by fear. And that's pretty amazing. So over the past few years, I have met some amazing relatives who've been teaching me. This is the thing too. The Indigenous community, I find that the people that I've met, they're not going to judge you for what you don't know. because people get it.
Yeah.
People understand this isn't your choice. You're taken.
Yeah.
You know?
Literally, things were destroyed and we're recouping and rebuilding.
Yeah, we want you to come home. We will show you. We're going to teach you the different ways to really honor yourself and to honor your relatives and to honor the ancestors, and just to say that the only limit now is your own imagination on what you can do in your life.
Yeah.
So that's what I think the biggest thing that I feel is like thinking about, I know we shared, and I actually felt it when I speak about that little kid not being able to feel connected anywhere. And I think to myself, a lot of my decisions in my life were led from that confusion, because nobody told me otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I feel it 100%, like having your ancestors there with you, and then sometimes being an urban native, leaving your reservation. You didn't grow up with culture, but I did, and then I left it all behind because I wanted to fit into the white world, so I pushed it behind me so that I can go out there and navigate it, and it worked out for me. I became successful, but then I needed to also realize that I loved my culture and what was I doing. So reconnecting with it, and then reconnecting with my ceremony, and then all of a sudden realizing that I do have people with me all the time that I can connect with. It like has this little mental shift in your brain where you realize that you just can love like all the time kind of thing. Like when I'm going outside, I realize that it's a blessing to be here. It's a blessing to be in the part of my life. And it's okay to be happy with where you're at. And I feel like that's like an Indigenous teaching, you know, sometimes we forget about that when we leave our culture, and then we come back reconnecting with it. We're like, why am I pushing something away that's like inside?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's our imprint, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, even our parents. And I think my family, that I didn't have the opportunity to have a lived experience with my mother and my father and my brother, and you know, all that was shifted into something. And the more I learn about their experience, I'm saddened, but yet in the same sense, I'm just realizing that I have an opportunity now to really heal them too.
Yeah.
You know, and just to, I did meet my mother once, and I was able to tell her that, you know, I know that the situation was really out of her control, and I never held anything against her, and I still don't. You know, I just feel like things happened the way they happened, and now when we do the work within our Indigenous healing, we realize all of us are impacted.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. And if we can start there and just say, okay, so this is where we want to go. We want to make sure that we are, you know, taking care of ourselves, that we're able to, you know, be able to feel confident to tell the stories.
Yeah. And that's the main thing. Like storytelling is the biggest thing. And I remember hearing when I was younger where they said like, oh, Indigenous storytelling. And I'd be like, oh, that's just silly. But then the more I listened to my fellow Indigenous people, and I was like, oh, no, the storytelling is how we learn, how we grow, how we build. So I just love listening to everyone because I can always learn something. Do you feel that there's like a resurgence in Indigenous love right now? I just, like, how do I word this? Like from 10 years ago, there was a lot of people that are just trying to escape their reservations, so they run to the city. And I feel like now there's this communal love with everyone that I'm talking to that have now trying to take step back to learn more or take culture or ceremony into life, and just reconnect with home. I don't know if you have the same experience in Vancouver with the experience that I have here in Kelowna. I just feel like everyone's trying to reconnect more than there was about 10 years ago.
Yeah. We owe it to the children.
Yeah.
And I have to say that just because ever since, and when our children spoke, when the 215 children,
in Kamloops,
when they spoke, and when then that was like opening up the realization for the world to see what happened to our people, which we knew.
Yeah, we were saying it for years and no one listened. Yeah.
It's literally our ancestors that created the awareness to that opened the doors for people to realize what's important. And it's when we say every child matters, and when we say bring them home, and when we realize that we need to recognize our survivors. We need to recognize the people that walk this earth today that have been impacted, and we have education and sharing accurate information about our history. That's when change started to happen. That's when people started to realize where we were as Two Spirit people, where we were finding each other. Because for the longest time, like you said, that you went to the city to kind of find yourself, and there was no education. I don't know about you, but for myself, it's like I wasn't taught to be proud to be Native.
No, we had to, when I was younger and leaving, the whole family was basically, if you left a reservation and you did successful, you got out. That was the mentality. You got out. And now that's more like the youth that are in this thing, they're not being like, you need to get away here as far as you can to make yourself successful, because this is a place that's not going to help you grow. Now they're rewording or relearning and unlearning old past traumas, where they're bringing the children and being like, we have culture here. We can help you grow. We can grow as a community. And I love that shift specifically, because like I said, when I was 17, it was like, you need to get out of here or you're going to turn like your cousins and be a drunk. Like, you know, there was this is bad. Go grow. And like the shift now, when I go home, I haven't been home in a while, but when I talk to my family, they're like, no, we're building, like, we built a school, we're building Indigenous camps, we're building all these things to build community here so they have a space to grow. And I think that's just such a beautiful, like, claiming of their own space.
Yeah, it is beautiful, and I believe that it is a resurgence overall about Indigenous pride. And also Phyllis Webstad with the orange shirt story, and how that just created such a level of education in different ways too. If you notice, there's different ways to tell that story for our young relatives, but also for like schools, and just to make sure there's also different education opportunities for people to learn about the history of Turtle Island. And so we're able to see that. And for me, as I've done my healing over the years, I've been welcomed in to be myself. And I think that the people that I meet, and I know it's not a coincidence, I know that we meet people for a reason. And I value that, and I just continue to show up, and I realize that there are so many people now that are finding their pride of being Indigenous, of being First Nation, of really honoring, you know, the traditions, and learning their language, and learning their ceremony, and just connecting with other relatives. And I think that is yes. The answer to your question is yes. I do feel that there is a shift, and I feel really like I didn't realize that I would witness that. I didn't even realize what I was missing out on until I was able to be brought in and to realize this is you, this is your birthright. This is your identity.
And then when you claim it for yourself, there's just like a sense of empowerment, which is fantastic.
I am strong.
You are.
I am brave.
Strong.
And you know, things work out for me. And over the years, even in my darkest dark, I was always taken care of. And I remember that, and I think that is spirit led. That is somebody saying, you've got some work to do. So that's how I feel, like how I navigate my life now. Is that I've experienced life challenge in my life, like a lot of our relatives, but I'm here, and there's a reason why I'm here. And so I get to be able to show up in my truest form and do my thing, and do what I love to do. And I think that I find that the drag community helped me find out who I was as a trans person, and as a trans person, as a Two-Spirit. And when I learned what the Two-Spirit identity was, I was like, oh yeah, that's absolutely me. And then the more I'm able to really respect the history of our elders, and also to realize that I have a space here, and it's mine, and this is something that I can really take hold of and honor. And then when I do that, I just get up in a way, and nothing is impossible for me today now. I still have times to, like I said, I have a trauma response to certain things when I feel nervous in certain environments. But I know kind of where that stemmed now. So I'm able to pause, I breathe, maybe I'll do a little smudge, maybe I'll thank an ancestor for the awareness, and I'll just, I'll be kind to myself. And I share that really transparently with people. And I think people value that, is like, okay, I understand that.
Yeah, I think they really value that because, like you said, you're transparent with who you are. You come into any situation authentically yourself. And then that just creates that brave space you were talking about earlier where people can just come in there and then they know that you're there as well. Because, like you said, you're a person that people can rally behind. Not saying that's not necessarily what you want to do, but like people gravitate to you because you create a space for them to be themselves. And that all comes from like healing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think we talk about resurgence, and with the pandemic, when we were literally the whole world was separated.
Yeah.
I think that was another big shift too as well, because I went onto a talking circle virtual online with the other Two Spirit people from all across Turtle Island, and I don't know how I got there. But I ended up there meeting people, sharing their stories. Every week we would meet.
Nice.
And they would send us medicines in the mail. I felt like part of something.
That's cool.
I felt like this is actually this is family. This is so special. And so that is also something that is really amazing, is that the teachings are there. They're there. They're just, I almost feel like our ancestors are waiting for us to recognize them. It's just to say, we've been here all along, but it's up to you to be able to really ask for the help. And
they're willing to share.
It's true.
They're there.
And so I don't, this is the thing, when I have been sober now 25 years from alcohol and drugs, and I was a part of the downtown East Side Street community. And many situations where my life was put at risk, and but I'm here. Yeah. And I don't know why I'm here, and a lot of the beautiful people that I was in community with are not, but I am here. So that's why I feel like I need to show up and really almost feel like the second chance that I have, but it was given to me by the Creator, by our ancestors, to be able to really navigate in a way that one day at a time, I'm going to be okay. There's going to be times to where I feel like it's challenging, it's hard. But if I just hang in there, more will be revealed, and I'm going to just reach new levels. I think the biggest goal for me, like I mentioned earlier, is to experience bliss. Yeah. And I have to say that I experience that more than I don't, which is growth.
Amazing. That's growth, yeah. To shift the language a little bit, because we talked about Two Spirit, and I don't talk a lot about Two Spirit on this podcast. So I'd like to talk with you, because you have identified as Two Spirit, and you're a Two Spirit activist, you're a trans activist, you're just an Indigenous activist. Do you feel that the world is growing at like a good pace these days? Because for myself, when I first identified as Two Spirit, maybe like 7-8 years ago, I would have to explain what that meant to probably 9 out of 10 people. And now I only have to maybe explain it to maybe 1 out of 10. Do you feel like the world's growing, or do you think it's still just taking its time?
Well, I think that it's wonderful. The fact it is growing, and there is more understanding of the beauty of Two Spirit roles as well within our Indigenous communities, and they can mean different things too. And there's also different language for that was coined in 1990.
In like a Winnipeg queer Indigenous
conference. Yeah, and so that was something that was like relatively new. But it definitely encompasses, because it doesn't have to do with even sexuality. Nope. It can, but it doesn't have to. It's literally an identity that Indigenous people, and that's where I felt most true. Because I think about it myself, I've always felt I am like me, with really big red lips right now, but like I literally have always been me. And when I was actually allow myself just to kind of like reveal myself in the way that felt truest to me, not worry about what people think, but the gender definition and what all that means is very confusing for me, because I felt always very feminine, but I also at times really understand a masculine energy as well. But when I was younger, I had to choose one or the other.
Yeah, it was very binary. Like you're one or the other, no in between.
And I feel like I house both energies. Yeah. And I've never felt like I was ever a man. but I'm also never like, I felt like I was like a woman.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am Two Spirit, and I am trans, and I love, you know, that's sort of been my journey of transition, has been transition to self, transition to be myself regardless what people think. More importantly, is just to reveal my authentic truth. And what does that mean to my spirituality, my spiritual health, my medicine wheel. So that's where I'm at now. So I do feel like when I share that with people, it's like people understand that.
That's so great, because there's so many things that we're still learning and still trying to navigate with. And then the Two Spirit identity is something that's, like you said, was fairly new from the 90s, but it's something that we've all had. We just lost it during like colonization or the residential schools, and things were taken away from us. And now we're rebuilding it and recouping this beautiful, rich culture. And you did mention the important role of two spirits that we had in society, such as like matchmakers or shamans or medicine men and medicine women, like all these important roles they had. And I feel like that's you, because you are filling a role that's definitely needed, especially in Vancouver, because Vancouver is a very big community where Indigenous cultures from all across Canada tend to come to. So it's just so many different Indigenous cultures. And then you are there as a figurehead for people to see that you can be Indigenous and queer and happy and living a life with still acknowledging that we have to work through things. So I feel like traditionally you're filling the role of a two-spirit person. And I feel that when I see you. Is there any moment where you stop and look at yourself and you're like, wow, I'm really proud of myself? I'm not saying it as an ego thing.
No, there's just this thing, because I feel that there's just so much shifting for me in my experience of ceremony. When I say that, is like when I have a moment with myself in my space of a home that I've been able to create, and people come into my space and say that it feels really good. It's because when I'm in there, I do my best to really just to connect with the gratitude of life. Because it's, you know, we see all the time, we lose people all the time, and I just think I just want to be really respectful towards my time here. And I just know now that I've been through a lot, but I've also shifted to feel, you know, more confidence than I ever have in just kind of being myself and just being okay in my own skin. And I think that just that journey alone, I don't know. It's so funny, because I feel on such a connected way with moments of like when I work with elders, when I sit in discussion with them, I'm just like, this is the best place ever to sit here when somebody says, I see you. You can be you, because you're important and your voice matters. And I work with people in, you know, real vulnerable communities, and I don't even like really work with them. I just sit with the relative and say, you be you. You know, that's the thing, is that I think that's something that I've been able to foster, is just having that kind of like space to when I'm with you, I want you just to be you. And regardless of what you feel is like, you don't need to be embarrassed with me. You don't need to feel like I'm not gonna change the way I look at you. I actually value sitting with you, and when you're able to open and be brave with me, I just know that is medicine.
That is.
So I choose to be the medicine today in the way that I know how. Not in the way that somebody tells me I'm supposed to be. My own journey of showing up in my world in my authentic form that I know today. And it may change tomorrow, but today I show up in the way that I know how to. And I just want to make sure that I'm honoring the people that brought me to this world, to this earth, my parents and my grandparents, and just the people that believe in me, that just, you know, I know they're there. You know, I know that energy and that's with me. And I just want to say that I want to thank them for seeing something in me and helping me find it.
Nice. That's so nice. And like acknowledging that's pretty fantastic. I feel like when you're talking about when you create a space where people can be themselves, or you're like, do whatever you want, I'm not going to judge you, I'm going to let you have a space to be themselves. I feel like that also creates a lot of Indigenous joy as well, because then they can just authentically be themselves, or they might find something about themselves they never knew they had. Because a lot of times, like you said, there was shame in being Indigenous back in the day. You didn't admit it if you're going out. So now we have all this Indigenous pride because we're proud, we're here, we're Native. Giving someone like the ability to feel that and being there when they start acknowledging the power that they have brings, for myself, I don't know, can't speak for yourself, but like Indigenous joy, right? Seeing someone coming into their power, or like getting glimpses of it and seeing where they can go. I just think it's so empowering, and it just makes me like really hopeful for the future. And it's like, if this is what's happening, let's foster it. Let's build this fire.
Well, yes, I believe that too. And it can be small actions. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, when you go and you choose to go support another Indigenous Two Spirit people, like yesterday, like we went to see Madeline speak, and to be able to be there, I feel called to say things. Yeah. Like, I feel called to go up to another relative and say, I just want you to know that I'm so glad you're doing this, mm-hmm. and I'm so grateful to be able to hear your story and to be able to receive the medicine that you're providing today. Yeah. It's just a couple sentences, mm-hmm. but I feel like I do that like quite regularly, and people mm-hmm. do that with me. Yeah. And that's how we create this real unity. And wherever we go, and wherever I travel, I go and I show up to the Indigenous artisans, to like the different places that, like, I find our people, mm-hmm. and I want to be part of like the local community. Yeah. I want to find the Indigenous community. That is fun for me. Yeah. Because I just know everything starts with, I wouldn't have anything if I didn't have that real that real gift of being aware yeah. of the people around that are working hard for us to mm-hmm. be able to be us, right? And
it lets them be seen. Like, it's fun. Like, at all the shows, because we've done a few Dolly shows lately, and when we do photos with people, and then we say, hey, are you Nene? Are you say you Nietzsche? Yeah. Like, the instant joy that they feel yes. of being acknowledged, and then we have our little hug, and then we have our little laugh, and then we have our toothy laugh. If you ever see like a Native laugh, it's like everything shown, and it's just like this beautiful Native joy that I love seeing. And I agree with that. When I go into another situation or I see another Native person, I do like to acknowledge them, not for self-refusion, because I like seeing the Native joy of seeing other people out there. Yeah. You know, I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I do feel that too. And I think that even coming together with this, and to realize that this conversation, you know, maybe somebody's going to hear this and they're going to feel like they have a lot of makeup on, but they're going to be like, but girl, this is interesting to me, and I hope I feel something. Yeah, and totally. That's the thing, is that it isn't about this isn't acting. Mm-hmm. This is ceremony. Mm-hmm. This is being able to come together in the energies of who we are, yeah. in a form that we I don't even know what it is. But it's who we are, yeah. And you know, our story matters as much as anybody else's. Mm-hmm. There is maybe this young little Two Spirit person that is going to be able to maybe hear
it and realize they're not alone,
and say, yeah. You know what,
and they can reach out if they need to.
And maybe I won't wear quite as much makeup,
less liner, less red.
But I will. There's somebody out there that I've got a future.
Literally, you touched really a beautiful point. This whole podcast came around because I've listened to a lot of Indigenous podcasts, and a lot of them, they're fantastic, they're beautiful, but not a lot of them focus just on everyday Indigenous stories. And I was like, we have so much lived experience out there. Mm-hmm. If there's a way that we can just share and talk about it and just have a moment just between two friends, yeah. Someone's going to hear it. Because I never thought that my story would reach anyone until someone's like, they're like, becoming a queer person was hard in a small community, especially with the lack of pride with Indigenous life, and then moving to a city and then having to fight the racism of being Native in a predominantly white community, plus being queer, was like getting hit from two forces in Canada. So like having someone see you and be like, hey, thank you. And it's, yeah. Like, it's I don't want to say it's gratifying, because that was never my intent, but it makes me want to fight stronger and keep being that person, because like I never had someone like me. If I had you when I was younger, I don't know where I would have been, because I would have had someone to look up to. I don't want to selfishly be someone to look up to because it doesn't fit my ego. I just want someone to be able to see someone like us and then realize they have a future, like exactly what you said.
Yeah. See themselves in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So when they're navigating, they're not navigating from a place of confusion per se. They're like, okay, so I've got, these are some of the things that I need to do. And hopefully they can reach out to people like us.
Yeah.
And just to say, I don't quite know where to start, but, I'm moving to the city and I just would like to connect with, places that are culturally safe.
Yeah.
But also, you obviously know where the good makeup stores are or, things like that. But
you smell good. Where do you shop?
I mean, I tell you, like, and we talk about drag too, right? To see sort of the fact that with the Two Spirit program with CBRC and how we have like the different shows throughout the year, like the Two Spirit Day coming up. And also, and we want that, it's not federal yet. And we want that to be federal.
Yeah.
So it's about.
Were you part of the team that made it in BC?
Yes.
Like the first province ever to acknowledge it provincially.
Well, I know that. I'm not sure if it's exclusively just BC, but I know BC for sure was province-wide last year. Yeah. Yeah, and this year we really want to make sure that reaches even further because it needs to be a day of like the
like national.
The resurgence is I tell you, we're working on some content where people are sharing their stories and we have them all in like a video kind of thing. And it is so powerful.
Nice. To
be able to hear people like talk about their joy, talk about the fact that like for myself, I always refer to myself as a surthriver, is that I am thriving and I want people to see that. Yeah. I want you to see that I am an Indigenous person that had some real challenge. But you know what? That's not my focus. Yeah. Because the main thing I want you to know about me is that I am strong. Yeah. And that I'm brave. Yeah. And that I have the ability and the agency to be able to realize a life beyond my imagination. Yeah.
It's like you said, you don't want the Indigenous stories to be seen as a deficit, right? It's something that we can grow and have some joy. That's fantastic. We're going to wrap this up with them, but thank you so much for sharing and being open with me. This is a very fantastic conversation. Every time we chat, I just feel like I'm growing and I'm healing every single time. And I think that's just because me personally, I feel like our energies mesh very, very well. And I'm very grateful that you're in my life. For anyone that's at home or hears this, if they want to follow you or to see where you are or to see what, like any conferences or thing you're about, where they can find you or follow you?
It's kind of funny because in our shows, I feel like you would know what I was going to say next. Yeah. Is like, you can follow me at Jaylene Tyme, and that's kind of like everywhere, like on Facebook and Instagram are really where I'm most present all the time. So you can follow me there. Just don't follow me home unless we've agreed on it. Just kidding. That's my little joke.
It's
because consent
joke.
is what?
The law.
Yeah, no. So, but I love Instagram for the fact that you do have like a link tree, and you do have a connection towards. I'm gonna try to figure out TikTok. More because
it's hard, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's just
I'm an idiot. I tried making a video once.
It's really great though, and there's been a lot of our relatives that have been able to really create a platform of sharing stories. And sometimes when I see on there like the transformation videos of like one of our relatives just being there, and then the video changes and they're in regalia for the powwow. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, that is power.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
See that pride, don't you just feel it?
Yeah. And then when I hear the drums, instantly things are swelling up. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, so I think that if you want to reach out to me, I feel that I try to be really present in more Indigenous communities and events and things like that as well. So if you do know of some things that, because I do speak in a lot of environments too, and I love that because I don't know what I'm going to say a lot of the time. I just know that in a good way that this is important to get out there. And so whatever words that came out here, just know it came from my truth, my heart, and I do the best to be able to reveal my best self every single day. And I just urge everybody to do the same and reach out. If you're having some challenges and you just feel like, I don't know how I'm feeling, but it doesn't feel great. Just reach out to some people that you feel safe to be like yourself, and go from there. Because I know that for myself, I'm not a trained therapist, but I can guide you towards resources to help you in your discovery, because I really value the community. I live in Vancouver, and there's been so many amazing local resources that have been so helpful to me, and they're doing the work. And we talk about like our allies. It's like accomplices, where there's actions attached towards what people say, and like I feel like there is a lot of great humans that are helping in making sure that we continue to grow.
That's fantastic. Those are fantastic words to end the podcast by. It was so amazing. I have nothing else to say to that other than definitely reach out, because we're fountains of knowledge, and we can guide you to where you need to go, if not to us. Thank you, Jaylene, so much for sharing this conversation with you. I had such a fantastic conversation, and we'll see you soon.
All love, all my relations.
All relations.